A few weeks ago, I used this space to talk about Trump's recent meme coin dinner where he sold access and B-minus entrees for over $100 million. We laughed about how stupid and transparent it was and how at the end of the day, his crypto empire will go the way of all of his other defunct business ventures like Trump Ice, Trump Steaks, Trump Shuttle, and Trump University. And that makes me smile. What doesn't make me smile is how just mere weeks later, there's already another business venture to add to the list. Oh, so it pains me to say that I have some serious choice words for Trump Mobile. Oh my God, what? Are you joking? No, of course you're not. It's true. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump put on their dad's best hand-me-down suits and slugged some more pomade onto their hair and trotted out the family's new grift, which comes now in phone shape. Oh, that's right. That's for $499. You can buy a made-in-America sleek golden smartphone. The only problem, yes, well, it's certainly not the only problem, but one of the problems is that none of the other massive tech companies based in this country have ever been able to make a smartphone in this country to sell for under $500. In fact, at the beginning of our Terra 4, we even talked about how Tim Cook of Apple said that if he was forced to make the iPhone in the U.S., it could cost up to $3,500. So, what else comes with this magically priced, made in America, very high quality America phone, allegedly included in the $47.45. Yes, that represents Trump being both the 47th and 45th president. Oh, sweet Jesus. Monthly plan. Included in the monthly plan is roadside assistance. It's some sort of telehealth and pharmacy benefits, plus talk and text with over 100 countries. But fair to assume none of the shithole ones? I guess the kicker, it runs on Android. So enjoy all of your texts being green. You absolute asshats. This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha Bee. My guest this week offers us a real palate cleanser and a little food for the soul. It's one of the pioneers of California cooking, Chef Nancy Silverton. Nancy is the owner of restaurants like Pizzeria Mozza and Osteria Mozza, and was the founder of La Brea Bakery and one of the first people to really make sourdough popular in the U.S. Oh my God, I loved her granola. Those of us who baked our way through the pandemic, we owe her a debt of gratitude on so many levels. So take a listen and make good choices. Thanks so much for doing this. I mean,
my pleasure.
You have no reason to know what an inspiration you've been to me and how much I've followed your career and loved your work, and I have your books, and it's like it's exciting for me, is what I'm saying. Obviously, you have a recipe for porcini rubbed ribeye that we use in our home all the time. It's the most requested recipe in our home.
Good to hear.
Yeah, for any special occasion, we pop it out. So this is a thrill. For those who don't know, for people who are just tuning in, you really are the epitome of California cooking. I mean, you have your empire, and you do have an empire.
Well,
you are
my empire,
empress.
My empire in Los Angeles is 3 restaurants.
Well, that's an empire.
Yeah, okay, it is. It's more than I ever thought I would have. I always thought that I only would be able to operate a single restaurant at a time, being that how do you operate a restaurant if you're not there all the time? So,
right.
And I've learned it's all about the great people that you attract. Yeah.
I mean, you really created something. Like, you kind of introduced, if I may, you brought sourdough to people who had never heard of sourdough. I think my first introduction to sourdough bread was probably your sourdough.
Wow.
It was probably your granola, your sourdough, like your bakery.
You never lived in LA, though.
I never lived in LA, but I always made a special trip to La Brea Bakery. Always. Always. Because I read Gourmet Magazine. You know what I mean? Like that was just how I kind of learned about the world.
I know.
So-
And now, you just click on Mr. or Ms. Google and you know everything that is happening in every single city. And it's hard to resist using that tool to actually be your tour guide, right? That's certainly what I found when I was in New York. Did you ever go to Radio Bakery in Brooklyn?
Oh, no,
Have
but
you
I
been-
mean to, I want to go to Radio Bakery. It sounds incredible.
Yeah, they make terrific sandwiches. I mean, so appealing.
Is that what you do when you come to Manhattan? Do you just go like, I have a list of 15 places. I'm just going to eat the whole time. Is that your R&D?
Well, yeah, it is a little bit. And it's funny because I don't know that in Los Angeles. I'm so out of touch with what is going on in Los Angeles and all of the new restaurants. Certainly a number of years ago, that was, I think, what everybody in the business did. They would focus on everything new and then go and see what it was like, right? And I just don't have time to do that in Los Angeles. So it is true. When I go to a place like New York, I do try to do a little investigation, and say like, where should I be going? And now there's hardly any food magazines anymore, but they don't necessarily celebrate the cities or what's going on around the country. And so it's just so easy to just go online and figure it out.
I know. But then you go to Cherry Bomb and you're like, oh, okay. These are like the women chefs or like this.
Yes.
This pastry chef is making these incredible things. And then there's, oh gosh, what's the bakery with the cinnamon rolls? I can't remember, but I go there all the time. I make special trips downtown. I trek downtown for these like pistachio, Rice Krispie squares. And
Libre.
I go to Libre too.
Yeah,
I
Libre because I
Libre.
went there. But you know where I went also this time, which is just so delightful. These young bakers, these young energetic bakers,
Yeah.
Elbow Bakery.
Oh.
And apparently Zoe, who is the baker and part owner, I assume, there is a very celebrated New York, I guess, pastry chef. And, these are names I don't necessarily know, but I had just read that Elbow Bakery just opened and it sounded really interesting because it kind of leaned very much towards, I guess, her Jewish roots, so there's like potato knish, and she does something very interesting, which is a challah croissant. So it has all the beautiful lamination of a croissant, and yet it doesn't have that butteriness. Now, if you want that butteriness, then you might be disappointed at the flavor. But if maybe that butteriness is a little bit too rich for you at times, you'll welcome the fact that it's much lighter. But it's a great product. But it's a beautiful little bakery. And you know what's so crazy about New York is that people in New York, it's part of their DNA to be successful in shoeboxes, whether it's a bakery, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's an apartment, they figure out how to make it work. And they don't use the excuse of this could be so much better, or I would be so much more well-known, or I would be financially in a better position had I had more real estate. You never hear that. They kind of just brush it off. And you go into that little tiny little basement kitchen and she made it work.
Yeah, there's so many, I feel like, just great recipe developers. And as you say, these like really adventurous, interesting, cool bakers who kind of make like 8 things.
Yeah.
And it started with one thing, like I make butter tarts.
Yeah.
It's really what I'm great at. I'm just make these, give them to my friends. Now I sell them to my friends' friends. Now I'm kind of almost a legitimate business.
Right.
Like I love watching that trajectory. In my town in Connecticut, we have real proof of concept bakers around us who are like making these incredible sourdough milk breads that are just like eating the most delicious cloud. And it's all from just making one loaf in a very special way. And then it grows and grows and they experiment. And I I don't know. It's my favorite thing. I
Yep.
love to eat. I could just literally eat I'm never not thinking about what the next meal is.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's good. I think that's good. So, okay. You have a new restaurant with Phil Rosenthal, right?
Well, it's
Or a
in
diner in the
no,
process.
in the process. So it'll
Yeah.
open like everything. It's behind schedule,
Okay.
and
Great.
that will be opening when I get back from Italy in August. So it's because
Okay.
we could have pushed it finally to be July-ish. It's better just to wait till I'm back.
Okay.
The sign in the window says coming this spring, but spring I think is gone in a week or so, and so I would
Right.
say coming this summer.
Coming this summer, Max and Helen's, right? Do I have that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, you have it right because that's the name of Phil's parents, Max and Helen.
And he's a voracious eater.
Yes.
He's a man of many appetites.
Yep.
We all know him and love him and have just love his show. He's just an incredible human being. Were you friends? Did you know each other? Did this collaboration occur?
Were we friends? Yes.
Mhm.
And we are friends, actually.
Yeah.
He's an investor in a few of my restaurants.
Okay.
And I met him before Mozza opened. Now, if someone said to me, how long has Mozza been up, open, I would say, I got 5-6 years. Well, Pizzeria Mozza, which opened before Osteria Mozza, will be 19 years old before that. So I would say that I met Phil probably 21 years ago, before.
Wow.
And he was one of the original investors here at Mozza. And we've been friends, dining companions, travel buddies
Mhm.
for that long.
Wow. That's a very organic way. It's just like a 20-year path
Yep.
to creating like a full. So how is it different to have him? I guess he's more hands-off as an investor than he would be now. Like, how does a collaboration work?
Yeah, and you're spot on when you said that as a investor,
Mhm.
he's the ideal investor. You always get a few investors in there that every month will call you and say, when am I getting my money back?
Oh, great.
Or I came in for dinner and my food took too long, or, on and on and on. Phil Rosenthal is a silent investor. He puts money in because he loves to support, especially up and coming restaurateurs.
Mhm.
And then he just enjoys the ride. In this case, yes, this is something that's very personal. So
Right.
he is honoring his mother and father
Mhm.
in a way that he can honor their names and sort of their personalities. But in the end, he's getting a genre of food that speaks a lot to him, which is what he thought of in his youth as a diner that he would go to with his father especially. But
Mhm.
what he's learned to see on his travels is that you can take that concept and with a little bit more careful sourcing of ingredients
Mhm.
and a little bit more attention to detail, you could come up with those same dishes, say, with a slightly more kind of modern application without it
Right.
being inaccessible. And I think that that's what intrigued him.
So he has a concept in his head. The two of you are kind of hashing it out. Do you start with the recipes and then do you go away and you're like, well, let me think about this. Like, let me think about how I would want to reinvent a diner experience, a grilled cheese sandwich.
Right.
Let me think about how I would elevate that to restaurant level, like to proper restaurant level.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. So I'm just trying to think back when we first started talking about the menu. I knew that there were a few things that he absolutely wanted on the
Mhm.
menu. Hot open turkey, right?
Right.
Which I had no idea what it was because, on the West Coast, we didn't have diners. We had what we called coffee shops, which is basically a diner. But we
Right.
didn't have the diners and the luncheonettes that people experienced on the East Coast, let's say.
Right.
But certainly it's easy to research those old menus. So we knew we wanted a patty melt. We
Mhm.
knew that we wanted breakfast all day. We
Right.
knew that there had to be meatloaf on there, knew that you have to have soups. He absolutely wanted a matzo ball soup, right?
Right.
So there were certain things that he absolutely wanted on the menu. And then I had to think about them. And then there were other things that I just looked on menus, like you say, a grilled cheese sandwich or a tuna melt or a egg salad sandwich, But what I didn't want to do was I didn't want to create a modern diner in the sense where there were avocado toasts on the menu or a breakfast burrito or, because to me that doesn't have a place on a diner menu.
Right.
I didn't want yogurt on the menu, a yogurt parfait, but I am having cottage cheese, right? So to a certain extent, I'm trying in my own vision of what a diner was to keep the core of those kinds of dishes on. But I just think they could be made a little better. Like, for instance, I was at a diner, a very popular diner in New York a few days ago, right? And I love the look of the place and the smell of the place and the service of the place. But when it really got down to eating the food, I can't say that the food would bring me back. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'd rather have a Greek salad done in a way with better feta, nicer lettuce.
Yeah.
In season farmers market tomatoes, all that. So, but remember, when you start to elevate the ingredients, you're also elevating the price. So when I think of the criticism that's going to come, I don't want somebody to come into that diner and say, wait a minute, why am I spending $17 for a Greek salad where when I go to the diners in New York, I can still get a Greek salad for $11,
Right.
And that's going to probably be an issue because when you say the word diner, the diner is nostalgia. But you got to then say, what salad would you rather eat? Do you want to pay the $5 more and probably get a better tasting? But you don't want to elevate it that way where the tomato is really spheres of tomato, right? And all the ingredients are going to be the but they're going to be
just the best version.
Yeah, the best version. And I think that is what intrigued. I mean, I know that the inspiration or what got Phil to be thinking about doing a diner was when he went to Palace Diner, which I've never been to, in Maine, on one of his shows. And he was so intrigued. I remember coming back and saying, I had pancakes and they had creme fraiche and microplane lemon zest and it transformed it. And I'm like, Phil, with a little bit of thought and a little bit of care, that's easy to do. And he was like, I want to do it. Will you take that journey with me? And that's kind of how it all started.
God, that's really exciting. That's so fun because you get you're having a conversation with a diner. So you're it's evocative of memories, but you're still having a full restaurant experience. I know no one can charge the prices of nostalgia anymore.
Yeah.
I was just having a conversation with my husband because he went out for dinner last night with his friends and the hamburger was $40.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, he talked to the chef about it and that's the cost of making a hamburger that's as good as the one he ate last night. And people are it's obviously, that's just what it is.
Right.
You want to have a hamburger that is freshly ground the minute you order it. That's the cost.
That's what it costs, exactly.
And that's going out now. That's just that's going out. But you're having these really delicious and challenging and fun experiences and stories, and you'll remember that hamburger for 5 years, 10 years.
Right. Well, I still remember there was my favorite coffee shop in Los Angeles was called Ship's, and they had the ship-shaped burger on the menu. And the ship-shaped burger was basically a patty melt, or it was a patty melt. So it was on buttered toasted rye.
Yeah.
They ground their meat there every day, coarsely, with a high percentage of fat in there. So when you would bite into this this patty melt or the ship-shaped burger, as they called it would just drip down the edges of your mouth,
Right.
And then it had, the secret sauce, the cheese, and the griddled onions. And that's the only thing I ever had there. But when I think of a diner or a coffee shop, that's immediately where my nostalgia goes to, is to that. And that's the patty melt I hopefully recreated for Max and Helen's.
Oh, boy. This is pretty exciting. That sounds delicious. If you've shopped online, chances are you've bought from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout, the one that makes buying so incredibly easy. That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify doesn't just make amazing buying experiences for customers. They're also the experts in helping small businesses grow big. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Shopify helps business owners tackle all their important tasks in one place, from inventory to payments to analytics and more. Shopify also makes the marketing minefield easy with built-in tools for running social media and email campaigns so you can find new customers and keep them. And if you're looking to grow your business internationally, Shopify has global selling tools in over 150 countries. In-person more your thing? Shopify's award-winning point of sale connects your online and offline sales in the same place with 99.99% uptime and the best converting checkout on the planet. You'll never miss a sale again, only with Shopify. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button that's used by millions of businesses around the world? It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Your customers already love it. Stop seeing carts going abandoned and then turn those sales into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Samby. Go to shopify.com/Samby. Shopify.com/Samby. In a lot of ways, it's like the world is so crazy. It's actually, do you feel like that is driving people toward like the simple pleasures of a great meal?
I mean, if it helps, I hope so.
Listen.
Because like I'm in the heart of it right now in Los Angeles.
Okay, you were born in LA?
Yep.
Raised in LA?
Yep.
Los Angeles, boy, you are in the news right now. Can you explain to non-Angelinos what the media is getting right and wrong about the protests in Los Angeles right now? Like, what is happening?
Well, certainly there is are protests going on, but there has been sort of like a little overstepping. Like I am so for those protests, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But ideally I would like those protests to be 100% peaceful, just so our friend in Washington doesn't get to say, aha, it's a war zone there, right? But it's not certainly like it's overtaken the city whatsoever, right?
No.
And so that part is elevated. And I think this is just going to be something that is going to go from Los Angeles, and it'll be in New York, and it'll be in Dallas, and because this idea of this cleanse is just beginning.
I mean, we're speaking prior to the big military parade that's happening on the
right, yeah.
Our big dictator show of our authoritarian, a stealth bomber going down the street, whatever it is, torpedoes everywhere. So, I mean, I'm taking my kids. We're gonna hit the streets. I feel like many people are. This will be a big day of just counter programming.
Yes, a recent poll is showing that maybe 70% of our population is not agreeing to what is going on right now, which I'm surprised. It's like, why'd you put that guy there? But 70%, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it too. I mean, we can say this in this interview, but I'm like, well, we all tried to tell them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know how many more ways we could have said this is what's going to happen. So anyway, here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
And enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a piece at my old television show, which I really meant a lot to me, which was really about the invaluable work that undocumented immigrants do in kitchens all over the country.
Did you ever see, I got to watch it again. I haven't seen it for a while, A Day Without a Mexican. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, that's like a sort of docu-film.
Okay.
And it's so true.
Oh,
and I remember like when I first started La Brea Bakery. So this is back in 1989. So let's say 1988 when I was training and working with people. I had no idea who my team would be, right?
Yeah.
I put it out there, hiring, and the only people that applied and stayed and worked and baked and mixed and shaped the beautiful breads that we did in the Brea Bakery were the Mexicans of Los Angeles. Nobody wanted to work that hard.
Right.
Nobody wanted those hours, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like, A Day Without a Mexican.
Yeah, so germane, so true. So we're thinking about it. I think about it constantly. I just don't understand. Well, listen, there's a million things I don't understand about it. And it's like it's opposite to everything I believe, everything I've ever stood for. What's happening is it's a literal nightmare. But also just on a very practical level, I really don't understand what the administration thinks is going to happen within the food supply, let alone the restaurants. Like how our country is actually going to function when people are terrorized, self-deporting, scared to go to work.
Oh, yeah. And I'm noticing like 2 blocks up from my house because, I live in a neighborhood and in residential neighborhoods in Los Angeles, you're not on the street. You're in a neighborhood, right? It's not New York walking, So 2 blocks up from me, I love my fruit vendor there,
Right.
It's got a beautiful rainbow canopy like they have all over Los Angeles. And that's where I buy my watermelon every day and my mango, my fruit stand. And he hasn't been there for 5 days. And it's like, okay, he's in hiding. I think he's here, I assume, but I just think they're afraid, there's a lot of people that are afraid to come out.
Of course, people are afraid to send their kids to school with good reason. They're correct, actually. Yeah. During the last administration, it was very scary and people became afraid and they were afraid to go to their doctor's appointments. But now this is like, we are in next level territory. How does the industry, do you think, it's probably very difficult to know this, how does the industry survive in the cruelty of this? Like,
well, first of all, they won't eventually. You know what I'm saying? They won't.
Right.
They are the backbone in our industry.
Right.
Are people that not all have the proper paperwork, okay?
Right.
The backbone. Yeah. And so right now, all we can do is try to provide a safe haven, let everybody know that if ICE walks in, they're not allowed in our kitchens. You have to put these like notes up that say like private, do not enter. So we have them on all of our access, right?
Okay.
I mean, all the research that we've had to do to let all of the people that work with us know their rights. And there's a certain amount of rights. Let's say, I mean, I don't know how, I haven't been confronted in that situation yet, but.
Well, I hope that you
don't have to.
I hope that you don't have to. I hope not. Because I mean, every restaurateur right now must be having these exact conversations and strategizing. Like, how do we make it to the end of this 4-year period?
Yeah.
Do you know, what was your earliest, just pivoting back to your like early life, what was your earliest restaurant memory? Did you dine out a lot?
So I am 70. Well, I'll 71, I should say, in a week or two. So I'll just say I'm 71. And so I grew up in the era that families didn't really eat out.
Right.
Right. It was always a special occasion. So I ate home for the most part every single night with my parents and my sister at a proper dinner table with a proper meal. But my parents loved to take us out to what they would call a special occasion restaurant. And then there was no limit. So when we celebrated, if it was a birthday or a graduation or whatever it was we were celebrating, then we went to the top, whatever the fanciest restaurant was around, right?
Yeah.
And my dad used to always love to add a little story like, this is the place where, let's pretend all of the directors go in Hollywood, that kind of thing.
Right.
But so we would either eat home or celebrate.
Right.
No DoorDash, no Uber Eats, right? There were restaurants, obviously, but it wasn't, people didn't do takeout food. I mean, we didn't even have pizza. I never went to a pizzeria until I was, in college, I think,
And you've said that your mom was a good cook.
And she was a good cook. I didn't appreciate what she was cooking, but she was a good cook and she liked it. And that's the thing. It wasn't a chore, So I don't know when Peg Bracken, the I Hate to Cook book, and it was usually the woman that was the cook in the family, right? So there were a lot of women that looked at it as a chore. My mother never looked at it as a chore or even a job. It was just part of her lifestyle, and she was she worked at home. She was a writer, so she did work. But yeah, I never ever heard her ever complain, but I would complain about what she made because she wasn't making the things that I saw on TV or the food that I saw that families on TV shows were eating. They were eating
like casseroles.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah, because that was also the beginning of convenience food. Labels such as like hamburger helper or rice-a-roni or or packaged ingredients or even frozen ingredients. My grandma, I used to love going to my grandma's house because she would serve Swanson's TV dinners. And I thought those were the best.
The height of sophistication.
Love that. Yeah.
The little apple cobbler. We were
all
just
of
like,
it.
This is incredible.
The idea that nothing touched and it all was compartmentalized,
Yeah.
I loved it. And I think I also loved how bland everything was.
Right. It's so funny because how long did it take you as an adult to come back around to the realization that actually you were very lucky that you had a mom who liked to cook and probably
not
made great
until
meals.
way into college and then afterwards. Yeah.
Right.
That I realized, wow, I had it good, And, my mother talked about Julia Childs and my mother talked about making beef bourguignon. And I would just roll my eyes.
Oh, gosh. Did you watch Julia Child? Did she have
No,
it
I
on?
didn't. And she didn't. I don't know. My mom never watched it. And this was not this was more as a teenager that I don't know, like again, when the first Mastering the Art of French cooking came out, if it was the 70s. But so I was already like a teenager, but I remember the joy and the sense of accomplishment my mother had, both vocally and on her face, when she accomplished that roast chicken. She used to love to say, it's 4 pages and you have to turn it and, but, she was so thrilled with the result and so proud of herself.
What's better than a roast chicken? I mean, it's hard to it's pretty great. It's so funny. You're reminding me of my grandmother who would cook for me and I did love her cooking, and she taught me a lot about just eating a home cooked meal every night, which I do. I cook a lot. And I just remember her putting a single garlic clove, like if she was making spaghetti sauce, just a single garlic clove in a little sachet. Yeah. And just putting it in the sauce for, 2 hours and then pulling it out because it was just too much.
Yeah.
So much. How things have changed. Now we're all can I be punched in the face with flavor?
Yeah. And what do you think about that? I was thinking, when I was doing my planning of where I was going to eat in New York, right? And so, obviously you hear about the restaurants people are talking about, then you pull up the menus, right? And so it's not fair because I didn't eat at a lot of these places, but I just read those and I'm thinking you can't just write a menu or cook in just, I don't necessarily mean familiar ways, but I kind of mean natural and obvious ways. I feel like everything now has to contain certain buzzwords. Everything has to have yuzu in it. Like, why?
Right.
Everything has to have some chili crisp. Everything has to have these flavors. And by the way, I really love aggressive flavors, but I love my aggressive flavors by food that is reduced, that's concentrated,
Right.
that has a good fruity, olive oil that's well seasoned. I
Yes.
really like aggressive flavors, but it just seems like nothing can be just left alone these days. It just has to have almost too much flavor in too many weird ways.
I do agree. I agree with you. And I think that I feel aligned with you spiritually, because I'm kind of like, I do think that there are some new places where you're like, how can you have like kimchi and arugula, like just like so many punches in the mouth.
Yeah.
And like, do you think we're not alive and like this burrito is going to jolt us out of our mundane existence? Like, I just want something, something like acid, some richness, some full flavor, like well seasoned.
Yeah,
food.
exactly. Fresh herbs, chilies, all those things are great.
Yes.
But it's like that lack of focus. It's like, wow, what is kimchi doing on this Mediterranean menu kind of thing, right? Or
yes. But then you choose your places too, based on what you want to see, like the best version of this. Like, I love Lebanese food. Like, it's just like,
love.
And I went for breakfast at this place the other day, and
in Manhattan or Connecticut?
In Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah, in Manhattan. I went out with my friend to Cafe Zafri. Boy, it was good. Oh, and I came home and my kids were like, "Where were you?" I was like, "I was eating lamb for breakfast."
Yeah.
And it was so delicious. And I was like, "Oh, everything's just, it's the right portion size. It's the right size.
Yeah.
It's the perfect version of this." I couldn't make it myself in a casual way. It would be like an all-day project for me. And someone just made it and they brought it to me. And it was the most incredible breakfast.
Yep.
Like, what else is there? I can think about it. I'm still dining out on it in a way. I'm still thinking about it, thinking about going back. That's for sure.
A great test.
It's magic.
Yeah.
It really is magic. It brings so much to our lives. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there are no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results. When I was looking to hire someone, I gotta tell you, it was so slow. It was extremely overwhelming. I wish that I had used Indeed. How fast is Indeed? In the minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Join the 3.5 million employers worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/SamB. Just go to Indeed.com/SamB right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/SamB. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Tell me about, because I have your book about the cookie that changed your whole life, and it's a great book. Can you tell people what the cookie is that changed your life?
So the cookie that changed my life is, tongue in cheek, by the way. So.
Sure, of course.
But it was a peanut butter cookie, and it changed my life in the sense that it got me baking again, not yeasted baking or not bread baking, but just back in the kitchen, baking again because I hadn't done that for a while.
Mhm.
It got me to write the next book that I said I would never write again, right?
Right.
Every time you finish a book, it's like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not writing another book. So it got me to write another book. But
Right.
it also got me to rethink a lot of, I guess we'll call them classics,
Mhm.
for lack of a better word, and to appreciate some of those simple desserts,
Right.
both savory and sweet.
Right.
But it also made me sort of laugh at myself because I always think of myself as someone that's not competitive at all, and
Right.
I'm always, and I still am always willing to celebrate the success of anybody else and pat them on the back for their geniuses,
Right.
But so when I tasted this peanut butter cookie that was just actually a classic peanut butter cookie, the one that we think of more as a peanut butter cookie, meaning just a cookie not embellished like the way that I ended up doing mine. Anyway, but it was a perfect peanut butter cookie, and I was like steaming inside that this person that used to work for me has made a better peanut butter cookie than I ever made in my life. And so I set out to make a better version of her cookie, which really it's not. It's just equally as good as hers. And
Right.
that was the cookie that changed my life. And I wanted to call the book The Peanut Butter Cookie That Changed My Life. But the publishers or the salespeople that really control all books and titles and things like that
Right.
is the sales department said, oh no, you can't use the word peanut butter because everyone's allergic to peanuts. So that's why it became the cookie that changed my life.
That's a real turnoff
Yeah.
for the peanuts
Yeah,
allergic.
I know.
Well, actually, I'm sure they're right.
Yeah.
If people see peanut butter, they're like, it's a peanut butter book.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the other thing is they also said we don't want to call it that because everyone's going to think it's a cookie book. And it's like, no, they won't. It's just the cookie that changed my life. And sure enough,
Right.
everyone says, oh, I love your cookie book. And it's not a cookie book. It's a baking book.
Yeah.
So
When you go, so you're going to Italy for a large, do you go every year?
yeah, I
for
go
a large chunk?
always twice a year, which is
Okay.
summer. And then
Mhm.
again in Christmas,
Okay.
2 weeks during those holidays. But then I fit whatever else I can fit in. So, for instance, I'm doing a what the program is called a chef in residence with Missy Robbins in Tuscany in November, where we're going to do a little cooking classes.
Oh.
We're going to eat together. We're going to go on a few little excursions. And that's in a beautiful hotel called Monteverde in Tuscany. So I'll
Oh.
be back there for then. And then I also do a yearly travel trip with Ruth Reichel
Mhm.
and the editor of the managing director of the LA Times food section, Lori Ochoa.
Mhm.
And we go different places. And for 4 of those times, we did go to Italy. Then we took a break and we went to France. But we're going back to Italy on one of those trips, going to Puglia and Campania in September. So I'll be there again in Italy. So this time, and I was there in March or February for a food show. So this year it'll be 4 times that I get to go that I wouldn't. So
That's great.
Yeah.
I celebrate that.
I do.
Oh, yeah. Is it something that you've been there so many times, but is it something that you still go, well, I'm just as excited as last time?
Oh yeah, because I have a home there.
Yeah.
So it's a small home. It's not a
Where
villa
is
in
it
Umbria. In
in
Umbria.
Umbria.
So
Okay.
it's halfway between Rome and Florence.
Okay.
And so it's like home to me. And
Right.
so, yes, every year I look forward, as soon as I leave, it's like, I can't wait to be back for the summer because going for Christmas is great. And going for a couple weeks,
Mhm.
leading a food group is great too. But there's nothing like planting yourself in a kitchen at my house where I actually cook.
Right. Right. My daughter's doing a study abroad in Florence this year. And I
Oh.
was like, oh, this is great because I'm going to be there constantly.
Yes, you are.
She was like, please don't come that many
Oh,
times.
you'll
I'm
be
like,
there.
Don't
Well,
worry. we don't need to be around you.
Yeah.
We're just checking on you. We'll take you out for dinner, whatever.
But just to walk in Florence, and I'm, let's say, an hour and 20 minutes from door to door.
Ooh.
And I oftentimes go twice a week to Florence while I'm in Umbria and never get sick of it. Why wouldn't you?
Never. No, why? And I mean, it's fun to come back and bring those lessons back, because I grew up in Canada, and
Where in Canada?
In Toronto.
Okay.
But it's still like kind of spiritually, there's not that it's so similar, but I grew up around people who like preserved fruits and vegetables for the winter, like that. Those traditions that you see that everyone's just like canning tomatoes.
Yes.
Like we did that in Toronto. You're just like, it's like sauce month, where you're just like, everybody's making sauce.
Yeah.
And you're just jarring it, and it goes in the root cellar. Like, I love that stuff so much. So going to Italy and being reminded of these just like constant traditions of just like working with produce, like putting it all together, having something delicious, and going to bed. Wake up, do it all over again. Just wonderful. What do you eat when it's 11 p.m.? You're by yourself. You're hungry. You don't want to eat too much, but you want to eat just the right amount so that you'll be able to sleep.
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
I am addicted to popcorn, and I don't eat just a few handfuls. I make it or I buy it, and I eat a lot of it. So when you say like 11 o'clock, a little snack, you look at that bag that I open, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to have a couple handfuls. And then before I know it, it's at least half gone, or then oftentimes all gone. So
it's not so much a little snack, a sack.
A sack.
Literal sack of popcorn.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you watch The Bear? Do you love
Bear? I watched the first season. Mm-hmm. And then what season are we on? Like, what season has been? Is 4? Is
going
4
going
into 4?
Going into 4.
I don't think I watched 2, and I think I watched Thomas Keller on 3, who I think it was 3, who I think did a brilliant job.
I didn't watch season 3.
Oh, okay. I only watched him.
Okay.
Are you going to watch? Yeah, and I think they're all great. And the writer. First of all, the creator, I think, eats at Osteria Mozza a lot.
I'm sure.
I have to say, I'm not a television watcher.
I think that's fair.
I just don't watch television, and I stay away from those series because I don't want to get sucked into them. That like I got to watch it next week because No disservice to The Bear. Yeah. I think they did a great job, and they're so successful, and it's just become a. In the food world, and probably the wannabe food world,
right?
That Bear and the language and the scenes have just become sort of like a everyday language, and you can just say something. It's kind of like bear-like, and everybody knows what you're talking about, kind of like White Lotus, and some of those other ones that,
100%.
But just really quickly, because I just talked about this the other day, there is a series that I did watch during 2020.
Okay.
And a few other, when I was just home. And so I did watch some TV then and old movies. Did you ever see Midnight Diner?
No.
Oh, put that. Let's get off so you can turn it on. You got to watch A Day Without a Mexican. Okay. And then you got to watch Midnight Diner. And then Midnight Diner was picked up by Netflix, and it became Midnight Diner Tokyo Stories for a short time. But start with Midnight Diner.
Okay.
You have to watch that. Now so really quickly, little restaurant owner in Tokyo, tiny little restaurant. He is open from 12 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning because he wants to, for all the people that have nowhere to go during those hours. He has one thing on the menu, but he'll make anything you want as long as he has the ingredients, and he always does.
Wow.
And the cast of characters that come in, and it's just so special. And I was just doing an interview for Food and Wine, and they were saying, like, what's your favorite food thing of all time? And I'm thinking about, all the big things that everyone knows, Babette's Feast, and,
But it's Midnight Diner.
Midnight Diner. You got to watch Midnight Diner.
My first restaurant job was in a Midnight Diner.
Oh, really?
Like overnight. I did my first waitering job was the overnight shift in a midnight pancake house.
Okay, we need you in LA for our diner, the midnight shift. We're hiring.
Okay. All right, great.
Since there's not going to be anybody else left in the city that's willing to have those hours. So
you know what? I'll clean that grease trap.
Yeah, thank you.
It's fine. I'm good at it. I know how to do it.
And you know the name of it, that it exists.
100%. I do it all. This was such a pleasure. I mean, what a thrill to meet you. And
so fun. We have to talk again.
We do. I hope you have a great, just an incredible travels in Italy, and good luck with the dine. I can't wait to come to LA one day and eat there. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Boy. That was Nancy Silverton, and I had no choice but to look up one thing. We were talking about how Nancy's mom would cook dinner every night, and we were trying to remember when the I Hate to Cook book by Peg Bracken came out, and it came out in 1960, which means that this is its 65th anniversary. I feel like every household had that book. I remember it so clearly. I can see the visual in my head right now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Samantha Bee. See you next week for some more Choice Words. Thank you for listening to Choice Words, which was created by and is hosted by me. The show is produced by Tzvia Baron-Reinstein with editing and additional producing by Josh Richmond. We're distributed by Lemonada Media, and you can find me at RealSamB on X and Instagram. Follow Choice Words wherever you get your podcasts or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.